Chapter 1. Zuldin sat huddled with a dark elf and 5 other members of the guild in a dark alleyway near the harbor of Caer Daion. Their target was a warehouse filled with exotic goods of all kinds, and they had been planning this heist for weeks. "Remember, we need to be careful," Belga whispered, a brown-haired human of about 40 winters who had routinely led them on heists before. "This place is heavily guarded." Taelurien nodded, his hand resting on the hilt of his father's sword. Belga nodded in response. "Let's go." The group made their way through the streets in silence, sticking to the shadows. As they approached the warehouse, they saw guards passing by the nearest entrance, their eyes scanning the area for any sign of trouble. "All right, this is it," Belga said. "Now we need to get in without being seen." One of the guild members, a human rogue named Rhea, stepped forward. "On my signal, we go ahead." Rhea had studied the patrol patterns of the guards in the past couple of weeks, and she had gone through the entire plan with the others before setting out. The group waited patiently for the right moment, and when the time had come, they made a break for it. Zuldin used his lockpicks to great effect, and they slipped inside, quietly closing the door behind them. The interior was a maze of crates and barrels, filled to the brim with goods from all over Taelurien. The group split up, each taking a section to search and loot. Zuldin made his way towards the back of the building, where he suspected the particularly valuable items. As he approached a stack of crates, he suddenly heard footsteps coming up. The gnome quickly hid behind a nearby barrel, just in time before a guard passed by, on his way to the nearest exit. Zuldin cursed under his breath, his heart beating rapidly. When scouting out the warehouse for their heist, they had not found any guards actually inside it. All of them had been stationed at the perimeter. After a few minutes of looting, Taelurien opened a crate and was surprised to find that it was almost completely filled with straw. The only item within it, right on top, was a small wooden figurine of a war dog, upon which the word Duros had been engraved. "Now that's interesting," he whispered, taking the item in his hand. It felt smooth to the touch, well made. Something to hold on to, he thought. They were paid by Fondir based on what they delivered, and the guildmaster didn't care if they kept the occasional gemstone or artifact for themselves. Meanwhile, Belga walked through the ranks and saw that everyone had a full bag. "Okay, that's enough," he said. "Let's get out of here." Taelurien put the figurine in his pocket, tied up his loot bag, and joined the others. Carrying their precious spoils, the guildsmen made their way back to the entrance. Just as they reached the door, they heard booted footsteps approaching. "Guards," Rhea whispered. "Quick, hide!" The group scattered, diving behind crates and barrels as 2 men entered. "Oi, Olaf!" one of them exclaimed. "Seems you forgot to lock the door on this side." "Load of bollocks, I didn't forget shite," the other said, an unkempt fellow with a potbelly. The guards looked at each other, ready to jest, but then their means darkened, and they started looking around just to be sure. The companions held their breaths and did not move, hoping that their stealth skills would suffice to escape detection. After what felt like an eternity, the guards finally headed for the back of the warehouse to continue their search, and the group breathed a sigh of relief. "That was too close," Taelurien muttered in broken common. Belga took a brief look outside and signaled the others to follow him. They left the building and quickly headed for the nearest shadows, ready to make the journey back towards the hideout. A short time later, Zuldin walked into Soliana's refuge alongside his compatriots. After handing over his goods to other members of the guild, he joined Melina, who was currently cleaning the bar. "Hey there, Zuldin," she greeted him with a smile. "How did it go?" "Just splendid," the gnome said gruffly. "I almost got caught by a guard inside the warehouse which we hadn't planned for." "Well, you're back," Melina said in a friendly tone, still smiling. Zuldin relented. Yes, you're right. It was a good haul, too." "Wonderful. So, what can I get for you today?" "Just a pint of ale," Zuldin said, taking a seat at the bar. He looked up at Melina mischievously. "And maybe some advice on magic?" Melina raised her eyebrows, but did not stop cleaning the bar. "You want to learn magic?" Zuldin nodded. "I do. I saw your abilities and was hoping you could teach me a thing or two." He leaned in and added in a hushed voice, "Got a tome on illusion magic from the Black Thorn as well." It was well known that experienced thieves expanded their arsenal with lower-tier illusion magic, furthering their abilities of stealth and misdirection. That included thieves from the Black Thorn, which had once been the thieves' guild of the city, but was mostly home to assassins nowadays. Only Fondir, Melina, and more recently Taelurien knew of the gnome's daytime work at the organization, and he tried to keep it at that. "I never got to ask you anyway. Where did you pick up your skills?" Zuldin probed inquisitively. "Self-taught," Melina responded with a smile, holding her nose just a little high in the air, obviously happy with herself. "I learned evocation magic from books after a long time of trial and error. An excellent shield against some of the more aggressive elements in this city. Coupled with the guise of a black wizard, it is a near foolproof way to avoid trouble, particularly for an elf like me. The Black Wizards of Caer Daion were an elite cabal of magic users and a powerful political faction in their own right. No one who knew their place in Dionese society dared cross a member of their order. Melina looked at the young gnome with a serious expression. I can teach you the basics, but be warned, it's not as easy as it looks. Magic takes a lot of practice and concentration. Zuldin nodded eagerly. I'm willing to learn. When can we start? Meanwhile, having dropped off his goods at the inn, Taelurien sat down at one of the tables. A cool ale in front of him, he examined the little war dog figurine in his hand. Now what have we here? He muttered under his breath, using the dark elven tongue. Duros, he said quietly, reading the name written on the figurine. What's that? Lorgrim asked, pulling a chair up to the table noisily and planting his brawny body onto it. To top it off, he slammed a large ale stein on the table, loud enough for the neighboring patrons to look over in irritation. Taelurien was unmoved, focusing on the small object in his hand. I found it in the warehouse we just raided, he said with a thick accent, but well enough that Lorgrim could understand. What's written there? The burly fellow asked, pointing. Duros, Taelurien replied quietly. What? Lorgrim asked loudly and somewhat impolitely. Duros! The dark elf repeated in a loud and firm voice, obviously annoyed by the constant questioning. Suddenly the figurine jumped out of his hand and, accompanied by a poof and white swirls of ethereal matter which appeared and quickly dissolved into nothingness, it was replaced by a full-grown war dog with dark brown fur and black markings. The canine looked at Taelurien with big black eyes, barked once, and sat down next to him, looking up at the dark elf as if awaiting his next move. What the? Lorgrim muttered. Magic, Taelurien said softly, and his eyes widened in wonder. Duros barked once, as if confirming what he had just said. Found yourself a new friend, I see, Fondir asked with a grin. The half-elf had come over to witness the commotion. I guess so, Taelurien replied, staring intently at the big dog sitting at his feet. The animal breathed in and out happily, tongue hanging out of its mouth. The dark elf wasn't sure what to make of this, but he felt that another companion couldn't hurt, and the dog seemed both friendly and capable should it come to a fight. Belga and Rhea, the pair that had accompanied the group on the heist earlier, laughed at the sudden appearance of the dog and proceeded with the celebration of their success, which involved copious amounts of ale, fresh fruit, grilled pork, and, evidently, a lot of kissing. The guild was merry until late in the evening, and for a while, all thoughts of the dark city they were in, all troubles were forgotten. Taelurien, Melina, Fondir, Zuldin, and the others talked, ate, and drank well past midnight, and when they finally went to bed, it did not take long for them to fall asleep.